Hello and welcome to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for Thursday, February 8th. We got a fun one. It is trade deadline day, so there's been a lot of chaos in the league, and we're going to try and do our best to filter through some of that and get you some plays and some things to think about. All right, now before we get into it, please like, comment, and subscribe to our videos. Helps us a ton to just improve our reach a little bit. It does help Shannon and I personally. So we very much would appreciate you to do that for us. Now, let's get into the slate and let's have some fun. All right. So, as always, starting on FanDuel, our highest owned point guard is Dennis Smith Jr., followed by Miles McBride, Colin Sexton, and Trey Jones. So Dennis Smith, Nets are going to be extremely shorthanded. It looks like they only have 8 guys. And we know Ben Simmons is limited. So I expect Dennis Smith to get big time run. And with that, I think at 5.2K is just too cheap. He's a guy that's for the course of the season's right around 1 fantasy point per minute. And he's playing 30 plus. That's, 6x as it is. So it's definitely an interesting spot. Not the easiest matchup. Cleveland is fairly good on D, and especially against the point guard as their 3rd overall in point limiting point guard scoring. So it's a tough spot, but he's going to get the minutes and he's priced too cheap. Next, Miles McBride. Knicks are also a bit shorthanded. McBride, 31 minutes last time, 20, 29. I do expect him to be around that 28, 29 minute mark and in a good matchup versus the Mavs. I don't mind getting there whatsoever. He's shown us 37, 32 point upside, 26 last game, and makes sense to go back. Now, the one thing I will say is there should be lots of value on this slate, or could be lots of value on this slate. So you may not have to go to McBride. There might be a little bit limited upside compared to some other pieces. Colin Sexton, I'm not getting to a ton. Sexton, or the Jazz, did make some moves, but not in the guard department, so I don't really think his minutes are going to be too much different. He does have the ability to go for 40, maybe 50. I do like guards versus the Suns, but I don't love this spot for him. And next, Trey Jones. He is one of my pivots. His price has come down a little bit. Still fairly high owned, so he's not totally a pivot, but I don't mind this spot versus the Magic. Trey Jones is solid. He's been getting really good minutes, has shown 38, 40 point upside. And this is a spot that I think he could get there. So I don't mind going to him. I do wish his ownership was slightly lower. I do worry slightly about the ceiling, but these games of, mid 40s, high 40s, at least shows me that, that 7, 8x is a possibility. So I am fine going there. Brunson totally can go there. He's been living right in the 50s at 9.8K. That's, not terrible in a spot where he's going to get a ton of minutes. The one thing, he is questionable here, so make sure he is good to go. If he's not, the Knicks that are active are going to just play insane minutes, so it would be smart to have a couple of them. But Brunson's locked in for a lot of minutes, like his spot. I also like the spot for Kyrie Irving. Back-to-back games, 49 points. He played 35 minutes first game back in a back-to-back, then played 40 minutes. So he's going to play big-time minutes in this spot. Don't mind going there. 38 minutes is what we have him projected for in a spot versus the Knicks, where I think he can actually get to it. And this offense is absolutely just ran by Doncic and Irving. They are going to get theirs. They're going to get their work. And don't mind going to Irving in a lower owned spot here. Also, think Kobe White's interesting. So this Bulls versus Grizzlies team is two teams that are frankly don't care. The Grizzlies are absolutely terrible. And Kobe White has shown us big time upside at 8K. He has 3 50-point games in the last 2 weeks. Don't mind going there. He's a good bet for, mid 40s, low 40s, or maybe even into the 50s in this spot versus a Grizzlies team that just is very, very thin. And if Jiren Jackson is out, who knows what's going to happen with that team. And on to DraftKings high-owned guys, we got Dennis Smith Jr., Miles McBride, and Chris Dunn. I do think Chris Dunn is way too cheap on DraftKings. He is going to play limited minutes, probably only play, 22, 20 minutes, something like that. But he can get it done in this spot. He just put up a 34 in 26 minutes. We know there is a little bit, of a ceiling. He has 40s, he has 30s over the last month and a half. And at 4K, it's fairly interesting, especially with, he's a relatively higher floor player for his minutes. His lows are 10, 12s, with most of the time him being low 20s. And at 4K, it makes sense. Now, point guard spot for the matchups. We got Darius Garland, Trey Jones, who we talked about. Orlando's just been giving it up to point guards lately. Thus, we like Trey Jones. Chris Dunn, Suns versus point guards, just a thing. Mike Conley is an interesting spot. With their trades, I don't know if he's going to see any extra minutes, but if he does become pretty interesting. Only averages, 29 minutes a game, but if he gets into 30, 31 minutes, he starts to look a little bit better. And shooting guard, Dante DiVincenzo, Colin Sexton, Cam Thomas. Like I said, the Nets are extremely shorthanded. He's been playing a ton of minutes, and I should maybe up his minutes a little bit, but it is a very, very, very tough matchup. Cleveland's number 1 versus shooting guard. So if Cam doesn't light up the real scoring, then he's going to have a real hard time getting there at his elevated price. That's why I'm not getting to a ton of them, but the minutes are going to be there. I don't hate going there. Just don't love it in this matchup. And Dante DiVincenzo. No problem going back here. His price is up 8.1K, but look, we still have 5.1x value on him. He's going to play a ton of minutes. 38.5 is his projected, and the guy's usage has just been unreal lately. Been shooting a ton. He's in a great spot. I have a hard time not going back to him when he's this involved in the offense and playing this many minutes. So I like Dante. Gonna go back. Talked about Kyrie. I'm pretty thin right now on guys I really like as far as shooting guards. So I don't mind Mathurin, but Hield is gone. Maybe he picks up a couple extra minutes if he plays. He did miss last game. Only played 27 the game before that. But if he gets up into 28, 29 minutes, 30 minutes, he starts to look pretty interesting in that spot. Yeah, and then Vince Williams is okay there, but I'm not getting too much of them. For Memphis, they've been spreading their minutes out so much that it's really hard for me to like any of them. Williams, Aldama, Jiren Jackson are pretty much the only guys I'm considering on that point. And small forward or shooting guard on DraftKings, Dennis Smith, Miles McBride, Dante DiVincenzo. Talked about them all. Matchup tool wise, Jalen Suggs, Brad Beal. Brad Beal is an interesting one. Has played very well the last couple games in a spot with the Jazz. High scoring spot. He could definitely get there. Ayo is fine, going to get some minutes. Moderately priced. It's came up a little bit, but I could still see you getting there. Now, getting over to small forward, we got Paolo Banchero, Dante DiVincenzo, Kevin Durant, Jay Crowder. Paulo, I love the spot for him versus Spurs. Spurs just aren't very good versus power forward and center. Paulo's been getting a ton of minutes. He has a legit ceiling, has hit 60 3 times in the last month. Has been living in the 40s and the high 40s. I like his spot. Don't mind going there to Paulo. Dante DiVincenzo we covered. Kevin Durant, look, he's going to get 37, 38 minutes. The Suns are a little shorthanded. You could do worse than going to KD. My one thing is that he doesn't often really get you into those 60s. However, he has 3 games in the last month of getting there, so I don't hate the play. I am getting to a little bit, but I am slightly concerned about his ceiling. I just feel like we don't really see it unless somebody's out, and nobody's really out. Either that or he has to go for 40 points. So can he do it? Absolutely. Is it something we can count on? No. Jay Crowder, I got to bring up. 4.3K, played 40 minutes back-to-back games. The one thing I do have to say about this is when he got there last game, putting up 30, he had 2 steals and a block. You take 2 of those away, and his game is just kind of meh. So that's my one worry, but he is getting the minutes. He's not a great, fantasy per minute player. So he really does need that extra steal or block or whatnot to get there. But the minutes should be there. So I'm intrigued. Definitely have to wait on the status of Damian Lillard too. He is questionable. Lillard missed last game. If Lillard's out, Crowder is going to get a ton of minutes and definitely looks a little bit more interesting. And then DeRozan. I mean, I don't know how this guy is still 8.4K. He has 4 50 burgers in the last week or a week and a half. And then you stretch that out. He has a ton of them over the last month. Living in the mid-high 40s, mid-50 upside, low ownership. I just don't understand how you don't, consider going back there. Small forward on DraftKings, we got Jaylen Wilson, Dante DiVincenzo, Vince Williams. Jaylen Williams, look, the Nets have 8 active players. He played 18 minutes last game. Now they have less guys. He very well could play 26, 28 minutes. He's minimum priced. He's been a decent fantasy per minute guy. Hard to not want to go back or go to Jaylen Wilson in this situation. With only 8 guys, the minutes are going to be there, and he's been pretty much min-priced, so you got to do what you got to do. Small forward matchups, we got Franz Wagner, Andrew Wiggins, Alex Caruso, and Shabagny. Franz is fine, don't mind going there, just getting to more Banchero or Carter. Wiggins is in a very good matchup versus the Pacers in a pace-up spot. Don't mind going there. You could do worse than doing that. Power forward, Banchero, Jaylen Wilson, Kevin Durant, Jay Carter, Precious Achiuwa. Precious is just in a similar spot as the last couple of days where he's just going to play an insane amount of minutes. Been playing 40-plus minutes for 4 games in a row in a good spot. Versus the Mavericks, who are 30th versus power forward. You got to be intrigued. Don't mind going to Precious. He's just going to be playing the minutes at 6.8K. I don't absolutely love it because he's 0.79 fantasy point per minute guy. But he does get a little bit of a matchup bump. So I get if you want to go there. Jiren Jackson's one of the only guys I am getting to from Memphis. He has been out the last 2 games, though. If he's out, it's going to at least open up more minutes for other guys, and maybe I'll start to like some of those Memphis guys. But if he's playing, got to expect him to get 33, 34 minutes, and literally the offense everything has to run through him, and he's been living in that mid-40s. And we know he has a ceiling, so I don't hate going to Jiren Jackson. And on to DK, Paulo, Wemby, Precious, all look good. Wemby is still a little cheap on DK, but the price is inching up. He's in the mid-50s all the time in a decent spot, so don't hate it. Power forward matchup, Precious, Banchero, KD, all in good spots. We've talked about them all very interesting. And the center spot, we got Precious Achiuwa, Jusuf Nurkic, and Nikola Vucevic. I do want to talk about Nurkic a little bit. With their trades, they are a little thinner as a whole, so he might get a couple extra minutes. When he's playing 30 minutes, he generally produces a little bit, so I am intrigued by him. I don't know if he's going to get 30. He very well could stay around his 27. They do have Bol Bol. They have Eubanks, so it's not like they're totally hurting for big men. They have other places they can go, but I am a little bit intrigued with going with Nurkic there. Vucevic, look, when the guy gets minutes, he does very well, and he has played big-time minutes lately. We have him at 35.5 minutes. I don't hate going there versus Memphis team that he should be able to do whatever he wants against. They're just bad rebounding the ball. They let people score. 28th overall to center. So I'm very intrigued by going to Vucevic. Jiren Jackson we talked about, and Wendell Carter Jr., 6.1K. He's been playing minutes again, and I don't hate the spot against the Spurs. He's gonna score some points. Don't absolutely love it, but don't hate it. Now, as a punt play, we gotta talk about Bol Bol here. As I talked about, the Suns are limited. I think they're only gonna have like 9 active players, unless they, make some move with a G League team that can get there in time. But this is the thing. He has been extremely efficient scoring fantasy points when he gets time. 1.17 fantasy points per minute. He played 17 minutes last game, 15 the game before that, 17, 10, 19, 20. If he goes and plays, 17, 18, 20 minutes, he's intriguing at 3.9K. Very hard to figure out how many minutes he's going to play, but the Suns are a little bit thin, so maybe he gets a little bit more. Maybe he plays a little power forward, plays some center. If he's able to get on the court a little bit more, I'm intrigued, but it is total punt play, and I just wanted to throw it out there. Really, you have no idea what is going to happen or how many minutes he's going to play, but he does score very, very efficiently, so he's intriguing. And on to center on DK, Vucevic, Wemby, Precious. Vooch is way too cheap on DK. Into the net situation, Watford is probably going to get some minutes, and at 3.5K is interesting. Once again, they only have 8 guys, so all 8 are likely going to play, and, probably play at least, say, 22 minutes, especially with the fact that Ben Simmons is, probably limited. He's only been playing around 20 minutes, so I'd be surprised if they just let him go 28 plus, which means it's going to open up more time for guys like Watford or Jaylen Wilson. So don't mind going there whatsoever. For that matter, Noah Clowney is another one that could get minutes. That's the one thing with this net situation is we don't really know how many minutes or how they're going to get minutes. But Jaylen Wilson, Watford, Clowney, all absolutely have a chance to get some. Just not totally sure who is going to get it. But it does seem like Clowney is likely more on the outside looking in compared to the other guys. But he will get some minutes and minimum priced. Center spot matchups, Vucevic, Claxton, Nurkic, Gobert, Wendell Carter, Nurkic, like I said, if he gets extra minutes, he's super interesting in this spot. I do worry a little bit about Utah starting Walker Kessler now that Olynyk's gone, and they traded some of their small forwards. Fontecchio's gone. They traded another guy, totally blanking on his name right now, but played small forward or power forward. And there is a chance that Utah goes Kessler, Collins, and Markkanen at small forward. And if that's the fact, it does hurt Nurkic a little bit, but I think he'll still be absolutely fine. All right, guys, that will do it for us today. Good luck. Hope you guys win some money, and we'll be back tomorrow. Adios.